Big up Spotify. Serious blood, I ain't kidding. I write lyrics all day and make a killing. My name's Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Quarantine special of the Guy and Harley podcast.
And I'm Guy Pigden. And who was that?
That was my main man, Mr. Traumatic, the same guy from last week, actually. Literally from the same song as last episode.
Well, you know, if you think,
Yeah.
and obviously we're about to do a deep dive into it, I'm sure. But superficially, probably the people to be, well, they'll be
Yeah.
musicians with no longer tour, and realistically, you know, their 0.5 cents that they made off that extra stream is not going to make up for the thousands of dollars in touring that they will not be doing.
All the associated merchandise sales and all that stuff that goes with a tour. That's a big part of it.
So I mean, obviously, we are not in contact.
No.
We are contactless because we are doing this over Skype. So apologize if it sounds a little bit different or it doesn't sound quite as good. But we're doing this over Skype because I potentially have the coronavirus. And so I thought I would probably decide to give it to him, but we're doing this over Skype. Decided not to give it to him. So you know, I guess you know that's going to be what on everyone's mind. Obviously.
Yeah. Well, I've done a complete 180 on my opinions on it.
Corona.
Now
I would encourage our listeners to go back. And now Harley's blasé attitude, whereas I was much more circumspect. So I was much more circumspect.
I would describe it. I believe I said it was a tempest in a teapot created by the media. But I did acknowledge that it's a real thing, that we are taking the correct measures and all of these things. But that it was, in terms of it actually affecting your day-to-day life, the virus itself, that the chances of you catching it were very, very low. Which I stand by. Because not everybody's going to catch it.
Unfortunately, the teapot is the world. I think so. Yes, it is a tempest, and the teapot we call Earth, planet Earth, and what we're all going to be subject to. So, what does it mean for New Zealand? Like right now, today, as we talk, New Zealand has closed its borders to everyone except residents and family members of those residents. Which is the first time in history that they've ever done that.
Unprecedented.
So it's quite
unprecedented use of a power that they had, but I've never had to use it.
Major thing. And what else have they been doing? Doing a lot of testing. Currently, I believe last report, which was from yesterday, was that we had 28 confirmed cases. Although that that will be updated today with more, I'm sure. And one of those cases was a student from Logan Park High School, our old high school. So shout out to Logan Park High School, representing, doing their best to. And so, where is New Zealand at? Where is New Zealand at compared to the rest of the world? The shit has not hit the fan here, you would say, right? You would say the shit is approaching the fan at a rapid pace, and will hit at a high velocity in the next couple of weeks, probably.
That's what it sounds like. Essentially, it's all gestating right now. It's all gestating at the moment, spreading, and we don't know. But it's all going to come together soon.
So, I mean, the other option for 14 days if you've been on international travel. I mean, they banned public gatherings of 100 people. Now it was 500. Now they brought that down to 100. And obviously with more restrictions to come. But nowhere has actually been closed down yet. Well, and that is probably the problem. I mean, I work for a tuition place, and they have not, it's business as sort of usual, although what they've done so far is there's been 3 sort of instances where someone has complained about feeling sick or feeling like they have the symptoms, and they have then they have shut down that department and sent everyone home and self-isolated as gets tested. Yeah. So that's happened 3 times at my polytechnic that I work at. But it is a matter of time, and essentially the government haven't made the call to close universities and schools yet. Their argument being that, well, then those kids may have to go to their grandparents or something to be looked after, and where they will kill their grandparents, which I think is maybe not the best reason not to do that right now, because if they stay at these universities and schools, it spreads all the way through the universities and schools, if anyone has it, which will then mean that everyone goes home anyway, except now they've given it to, hundreds of people, potentially. So the spread has increased dramatically through that place remaining open, and everyone has to go home and kill their grandparents. So you get the worst of both worlds.
They've got to walk the line, for the economy as well. As part of the issue is you got to keep some things open, right?
Correct.
What are you going to do if literally everybody's unemployed? So they're trying to walk the line between a hard shutdown and that. Yeah. And so obviously, I mean, for me, it means that essentially I will be changing my course to nine at some point soon. And I don't know when that is, but I imagine it is going to be, I think, within the next 2 weeks for sure. Maybe sometime next week. I think that they're going to pull the shutdown on and that's the problem, is everyone's trying to remain calm and everything, but it's also well, what if you're the one that's responsible for essentially the spread of it at your institution or school or yours? They haven't shut it down, so that hasn't happened yet, but I've just read that Auckland University is, as of next week, they're making that call. So they're not waiting for the government to tell them that. They're just doing it, and I'm sure that a bunch of of the education sector will do that. I think that's the first of many. So deep ramification. Yeah. Well,
and also, well, I mean, I'll stop talking and let you talk.
No, it's fine. Well, I mean, this is a filmmaking podcast. And so, I mean, how has it affected your life? You're homesick right now. What do you think? Do you think you've got it?
No, I don't think I've got it. But so what happened for me is, obviously, vigilance is high, and then on Wednesday afternoon, I started to feel a little bit sick.
And had you been being vigilant in terms of your, personal hygiene, extra vigilant? Had you been grappling sweaty men?
Well, that's the thing. So obviously, I'm a wrestler, and in fact, what is that all the wrestling has shut down, and they made that call quite early on, which was very good, very responsible. So they said, look, we're not going to have our March show, which was scheduled to be next weekend. We're shutting that down because, you know, it's all the wrestlers getting in and sweating on each other, but then it's all the fans, and then it's all there, and it's just like a hot bed for a disaster,
hey mate,
really.
I just came up with
so we're going to shut that down.
For a viral video. You should have Alex Savage, your close personal friend Alex Savage, what he does, you know, to around the house, and you'll be in character. You know, he's there, and you just do whatever you're doing.
It's actually not a bad idea. So I'll mention that to him.
Pass that along.
But anyway, so what they were planning to do was they were planning to do an empty arena match between my close personal friend and the person his former tag team partner, who he's been feuding with after he stabbed him in the back and kicked his head off and cut off his mullet. So he kicked his head off, and so they're in this and kicked him in the balls multiple times. So he's in this feud at the moment. Oh, cool. That's my girlfriend back. She's just going to come into the corner of frame, and you don't you have to shut the fuck up, please.
Oh.
Man. But anyway, so essentially they were going to do an empty arena match, where it was no fans, just to pay off to that feud between my close personal friend and Will Stone. And what they had to do, and essentially because I got sick and I'm in close contact with my close personal friend, they had to cancel that match. So they're not even doing that, although there is talk of redoing it next week. But it's very hard to wrestle in front of no one, because essentially you're relying on the crowd to dictate the pace of the match, whether they're engaged, what you should do. And without anyone there, it's like, well, it's performing to no one. It's like doing a theatre show to nobody.
But there's a certain art in that. And if you do it and you record it, it'll be historic video from this historic time of you guys having to wrestle to nobody. You know, it's kind of cool.
It's true. I mean, the wrestling shows in America are already doing this. So the WWE and AEW, etc., they're all now wrestling in front of no audiences. So they have their wrestling shows, but there's no one there. You can't hear anything, and it's just dead silence the whole time, and it's fucking weird.
But
it's not really,
the
top.
So it's not dead silence.
Oh yeah, but it's.
But yeah.
Well, no, it's not. But it's just, wrestling is participatory for fans. Like, it's not meant to be, done alone in a gym with no one there. It's just weird, and even watching it does not seem right. But that's what's happening there. But because I got this cold, that got cancelled. And so the first thing I did, obviously, is I got a cold. I've got the symptoms. I've got a headache. I've got a blocked nose. I've got a sore throat. I've got a bit of a cough. So what do? Well, first thing I do is I call up my GP. Can't get through to him. So please leave a message to book an appointment if you're showing the COVID symptoms, right? And so what do? I go through and I select one to leave a message to book an appointment. And what happens? Well, what happens is the mailbox is full. Hang up. So can't book an appointment with my GP to check whether or not I have this virus. And so I call up Healthline. We are experiencing high volumes of calls at this time. Hang up. No, leave a message, do anything, can't do anything. Just see you later. And then, so obviously I kept trying to call through. I got the same message until later in the day. You couldn't even call through. So later in the day yesterday, when you called through, it just went to an engaged signal. So you literally couldn't even hear the fob-off message anymore because they were so overwhelmed with calls.
The same thing happened to me when I called Trivago. It was just engaged.
Yeah, and so, and this line, this health line, is the one that people are advised to call if they think they have symptoms. Well, first things encouraged to call your GP. Well, that's off the cards. Too many people are calling the GP, so that's out. So then they call Healthline, and they can't get through on Healthline.
This is what the system being overwhelmed looks like. This is the beginning. This is what it's going to be, but much worse.
Well, that's the thing, because right now we're at the beginning of this, right? We're overwhelmed at the beginning. We can't do our due diligence to monitor, people who might be sick with it now, right? And we're at the beginning.
It's really bad timing for New Zealand as well, because we're changing seasons. We're turning from summer to autumn.
Yep.
And that's always when people get sick anyway. I always get sick at the turn of the season. That's why I always drink hot honey lemon ginger at the turn of any season. Whatever season it is, hot honey lemon ginger, I'm all over it. And so it's really terrible timing anyway, because, there's all these memes around like, 30,000 people a year die from the flu anyway, from the normal flu. Well, it's like, okay, well, cool. Well, those 30,000 are coming on top of this, And more because of the complications of insufficient equipment and people and all that type of stuff. So we've got all that to look forward to. At least in other parts of the world, they're heading into summer, which I think will help. We're heading into a New Zealand winter.
Yes.
In New Zealand, fucking rat shit winter New Zealand dwellings, with crappy insulation and all the rest of it. People are going to get sick, as per normal every year.
Yes. So I went to Healthline today.
Yeah.
They took my details down and they said, "What are your symptoms?" Yeah. And I said, "I've got this, I've got that." And they're like, "Cool. What about a fever?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I wouldn't say I have a fever.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Cool. Well, here's the number to call to get testing. Yeah. However, I can tell you for absolute certainty that they will not test you.
If you don't
they
have
are only
fever.
testing. They're only testing people that are with more severe symptoms than you have." And I was like, okay, sweet. Well, I guess I'll live in total uncertainty then. And so, and I guess here's the thing. Look, I don't have severe symptoms at the moment. My girlfriend is screaming at me, "You don't have it." And she's probably right. And that's probably 100% true. However, I also just read a new article by the World Health Organization, which talked about the spread of it in China. And what they said is that a lot of the carry, as in how it spread, was actually people with no symptoms. So actually there is a lot of people that will not show symptoms that will have it and that will pass it on. And so, there's that's absolutely a possibility. I think I just have a cold, but we don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's better to be safe than sorry, right? There is literally a worldwide pandemic going on right now, so if you can stay home, you might as well. Not just for the sake of not spreading it to other people, but also to increasing your chances of catching it if you don't already have it. Like I haven't really been leaving the house anyway. Like I stopped going to the gym. I went shopping and I paused my gym membership for the financial reasons, and I stopped going to the gym because there's all those sweaty people there. I went shopping, got in nice and early, got in and out quick, and I've just been remaining celibate as well. I've made a conscious decision to remain celibate.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with the fact that you didn't have any options not to be celibate. But now you're making a conscious decision. You've decided this is your decision, and it has nothing to do with the fact that no one will sleep with you.
No, I mean, actually, this whole thing hasn't really changed my life at all, if I'm really honest.
At the moment.
No. Well, the thing is, I feel like I'm pretty resilient to it, in the sense that I'm a healthy enough, young enough person who I'm a bachelor with no dependents, no partner. I live with one person who I very rarely see. When I go to work, I'm not like in a job where I've got to interact with a lot of different people, and I'm not interacting with the public or anything like that. I drive myself there, I drive myself back, and then I hang out by my computer. So I feel like my chances of bumping into the virus are lower than most. Not that it
absolutely
could still happen, but I don't. There's no children in my life, for example.
Yeah. Whereas I'm much more likely to in my job, where I literally go to an education institute with thousands of people, including international students, who may or may not be, practicing all the things that are recommended. Yes, so two different ends of the spectrum there.
I've also got no debts and minimal expenses. So, I've got my savings. So basically, my plan is.
Well, you do have one debt.
Yeah, to you.
You owe me some money, cunt.
Yeah. Those are older festival fees.
Oh, let's not forget the entertainment lawyer fee that we just had to fork out for.
Yeah, it's really bad timing.
And not good. Not good
timing. So anyway, but basically my plan will be to just hermit in the cheapest place possible. I grew up below the poverty line anyway, so I feel like if it's much like riding a bike. Being poor is much like riding a bike. You never really forget how to do it. So I think I'll be okay. I'll live in a van if I have to.
You only have to cast your mind back a couple of years.
Yeah.
we certainly for me, if I think about it as well, don't have to go too far back in my memory to realize what the fuck I was doing when I was literally super broke. So that could be a reality that we're all facing, but I think that it's going to be really tough for a lot of people. Like, even I was chatting with my dad, and he said that he's been sent home because he's got a cough, not because his cough is anything to do with the coronavirus, but just because it will make people nervous to see him with this cough all the time.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I was like, because he was kind of annoyed about it, and I was like, Dad, you're over 60. You're an asthmatic. You have this cough from a viral infection from which, has been prolonged due to your asthma, which if you were to get this from one of your students, you would be a very high risk case.
Yeah.
Of it severely affecting you. So it's actually quite good that you've been sent home, and you should not be resisting that.
Well, man, I'll tell you a story. This is a filmmaking podcast
about our lives.
Yeah, so I don't often talk about my family or anything like that on this show, generally speaking, but my mum and sister, get this, against my advice, I might add, but my mum and sister and a large group of, like, a big family they live with, of a bunch of kids and other parents and stuff like that. And one lady who's recovering from an illness already. They're all going to Rarotonga tomorrow for a vacation.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it's like, what? You're gonna have to come back to get back in the country. You're gonna at the absolute minimum, you're gonna have to self-isolate, and this is assuming you don't catch it or give it to or spread it in any way. But mostly the main thing, aside from like all of that, of the possibility of catching it and all that type of thing, there's the economic impact, which is that this is the beginning of a recession. I've literally paused my gym membership. I'm tightening my belt. I've got a bunch of soup in the cupboard, and my spending is going to go way down. So now's the time to be working your ass off. If you can get your hands on work, now you want to be working your ass off and not going on luxury vacations. But the thing is that it's all been paid for, already, and it's all planned and all booked, because there's a family friend who has cancer, and she wants to go with all of them, and she spent a lot of money to get this holiday all organized, and it's kind of a big fun family holiday they've been planning for ages after battling with cancer type thing, and so they're basically, by the sounds of it, opting to go anyway. So quite concerning.
Yes, and we had it
sensible.
None of that is very sensible. And, casting our thoughts to further afield, like I have a lot of friends in the UK, and I've been chatting to them. And I've been chatting to them about, where they're at. And basically, you know, as we said, they're sort of like 3 weeks ahead of us in terms of the impact on their lives. And, you know, I think the worst allegedly my cousin has got it. He's based in London. He's got it. He can't confirm that or be sent anywhere, but essentially they're like, don't even call us unless you're like really sick from it, like you might die from it, then call the hotline. Otherwise, just self-isolate, you know, which is what my grandma, who's 86 years old, has to now go for 3 months. 3 months
to protect her from the possibility of encountering it.
And that's what government has told everyone over the age of 70 to do. Go into isolation for 3 months. Like, can you imagine being in true isolation, you know, not seeing anybody else for 3 months? The mental adjustment that you know that you would have to deal with, and so also like what she said, because I just got an email from her yesterday, is like, you can't get any food at the supermarkets. She goes, I was going to order some food, and the 3 weeks that it will take, no, like the roster of deliveries for the next 3 weeks, there's nothing available. So if she didn't have any food and she didn't have any food to be given to her, and fortunately she does have a support network over there, because, you know, her other son lives there and can help out. But if she didn't have that, what, is she just going to freaking starve to death? It's absolute put into place anything, as far as I know, to support those people that they're saying to go into isolation for 3 months. And, you know, so there's these long, these ramifications, and we're not at that stage yet, obviously. And our government does appear to be handling things better way. It's a pretty chilling thing to think about, that parental and they don't really have the resources to keep them going through that time. Which would mean their only food and assistance, and then get the virus potentially. And so it's pretty grim stuff, and this is just in the UK. You know, obviously, you know, it may be in other places, or about to get. You know, I'm not a doomsday person, but
the issue is, you know, the big issue is not. It's all culminating, right? So we've got. This is one thing that's happening, but, you know, there's so many other things that this is going to have a big knock-on effect, right? So if you want to think doomsday stuff, you're like, well, how many steps away from war are we? You know, if you were to think about it, you know, or how many steps away are we from, like, some big, you know, climate disaster that we just can't control, that's sort of happening at the same time. And, you know, that's the problem, is when you've got multiple huge problems all at once, which is kind of what we're working towards. But my hope is that this is perfectly timed by fate, that in the lead up to the 2020 elections, that in our country, Jacinda has had these opportunities to shine time and time again, and has proven worthy and has done this amazing thing. So I would be very surprised if you know, she loses the next election. And then there's over in America, I'm kind of hoping that all of this socialism that's suddenly popped up everywhere, and people realizing that when the government does have control of all the hospitals, it can operate better, and you know, that you can have government stuff, you know, think that the government should be running those things and they shouldn't be run by private interests. That's what's working. Like capitalism isn't rushing to the rescue. Like we haven't had a thing where so all the private corporations have said, oh shit, we better start churning out hospital beds and stuff like that. It's what's happening is all the socialism is coming to the rescue. So hopefully Bernie will get a big old boost and everything will like lurch to the left this election, because everyone will want to get rid of Trump, I'm sure. Surely. He's failed so badly so far. And so surely maybe this is it. Maybe this is Bernie's chance. And if that happens, and if things like that start happening, maybe this is the rebirth. This is the old engine seizing up, and an old world dying, and out of this formerly like oil based economy comes this new more renewable, green, local type of economy. This is the time, while the gears are seized up, we've got to strike. So I reckon now's the right time to be investing in like local and futuristic type technology and green things, and investing in like the right things could make a difference right now.
Yeah, well, look, we can only hope.
But it's certainly,
because of the way that the coronavirus spreads and reacts, you shared an article about it.
Lasting for 18 months in waves, because they have to increase restrictions and then reduce restrictions.
Influx of cases. So cases get past a certain point, increase the restrictions, and then reduce them as we go.
In terms of our industry, the film industry, we did mention this a little bit earlier, but now, basically all productions have ceased. Like any large-scale production in New Zealand,
several thousand film industry people are out of a job for the foreseeable future. Because, the idea of, like, because there's lots of, at the moment, we'll shut down for the next 2 weeks and then assess.
Shut down for the next 2 weeks and then assess. Worse than it is now. So what they'll be assessing in 2 weeks is they're going to be shut down for another month, and so on and so on. And it's really going to, I think, be at least a few months before any of those things go back to sort of production. Obviously, depending on how things go with the spread of the virus, which they're still saying, I think incorrectly, that it hasn't reached.
The cases are only coming from overseas.
The cases are only coming from overseas, as opposed to being passed from from people in the community to other people in the community.
And I'm saying, well, I just don't think we've tested accurately.
Or enough. And there can be mild ones, just lots of people with mild symptoms that have it.
Yeah, like myself with corona. I've been told I'm good.
Yeah.
If I took, Half-Lion's sort of stance, then I'd probably go back to work on Monday.
Yeah.
Now, as long as they're correct in this assessment that, I don't have it, it's fine. But if they're wrong, now the school's freaking got it.
Yeah.
So,
although you can still be very careful at work as well, yourself.
Obviously,
so
you've got to try and put into place.
You've got to try.
But yeah, it's tricky times, and for me, I will start teaching remotely, which is better than having no job.
Yeah.
But I have to speculate that when my contract is up in July, I don't have super high hopes that they're going to be renewing it.
Yeah.
Given that essentially the whole, Polytechnic will be brought to its knees through this.
Yeah.
Because it's all fine to say, oh, we'll teach remotely, just teach online. It's like many of these courses are not set up to do that. Many of these courses are not really structured in a way that work in that environment. Especially, ones that are sort of practically based.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna, show that you can perform, correct CPR if you're doing nursing, for example?
Yeah.
Without going in and demonstrating that on a dummy design for CPR. What, you're just going to do it on a pillow at home and then send that through to your lecturer? It's not really work. So there's stuff like that. So you're saying that so far your work hasn't dried up?
Well, no, that's all changing. That's all coming through now. So I've lost. So all of the film festival events I do, they've cancelled or potentially postponed, but for now basically more or less cancelled. A whole bunch of events that I had between now and October that I was going to be doing regularly. I'd already booked a bunch of flights. I was going to Auckland, I was going to Wellington and Christchurch and hosting short film nights in both cities, and those have all been cancelled now, and so that's gone. And then who knows how it will affect the actual who knows how it will affect the actual festival itself, which happens in October, but so that's all gone. And then there was so the Super Rugby has been cancelled, which is a special rugby tournament that they've got, some sort of rugby tournament, and so they do a show about it, and I work on that show. That's one of my freelance gigs, is working on that show, and so so that's gone. The festival thing's gone, and then my main employer, I've been trying to snuggle up to them a little bit because I'm actually a staff member there, not a freelancer. So I was trying to kind of sneak in there and snuggle up nice and tight. And so that's what I'm attempting to do. But either way, they've just been sending out some emails and stuff saying basically like no more casual staff, no more contractors, basically just use the staff you've got and work them to the bone, and and if you have to, cut back on shifts, like reduce everywhere you can type thing. So so that doesn't bode too well for me. So if that falls over, that's my main employer, that's actually the employer I get the most money from every year. So if that one falls over and just dries up, then I'm pretty fucked, because I actually do 5 different jobs for them. So a lot of my work is accounted for by that particular employer. So yeah, if that falls over, pretty fucked then. Not really much of a backup plan. I do have a few other employers, but they're all going to be quietening down as well, because everything I do is basically related to either working at live events or broadcasting live events.
Yeah. Well, yes, in terms of my freelance work, obviously not too much happening, because essentially all that I filmed were events, and all the events are being cancelled.
Exactly, because I film as well for people occasionally, same thing.
Yeah, so definitely grim times, but shout out to, some of our listeners over in America or the UK who do have it much worse than us at the moment, and will continue to.
Yeah.
So heart really goes out to them. We, while, it's all going bad, we still can't complain too much. No.
Well, I mean, all the people buying guns and stuff, and my she who shall not be named said that that it's said that it's quite bad over there. That like there's no work in hospo. Plus the gun sales are spiking, and, everyone's scared and all that. So it'll be interesting to see. And just to have such an incompetent leader at such a time of crisis for the free world, the biggest economy in the world, to be led by this greedy, incompetent buffoon is shocking and terrible. It's just crazy to see that America got to the stage where a rich reality star can buy their way into the most important job in the world with no qualifications whatsoever, and to repeatedly tread all over diplomatic protocol and all that stuff, and to actively choosing to call it the Chinese virus at the moment. And actively doing that to zero gain. There's no gain from that. No one benefits. Anyone with half a brain can see that it's completely undiplomatic, that you're provoking China itself, but you're also causing Asian Americans grief, because dumb rednecks that follow this guy are gonna be calling it the Chinese virus and associating it with Chinese people and making life difficult for them, and it just, none of it makes sense. Like he gets nothing from it. He's just being a petulant child. And he's just alienating yet another group of potential voters, you know, because what Asian American's going to vote for the fucking buffoon now? Only self-hating ones.
I think the issue is he's so fucking stupid. Like, this really is the core of the problem, is that he's so fucking stupid, it's almost like, I'm sure, in his point of view, he feels hard done by, that as a president, he has to deal with this, you know, horrific problem. And so, as a child would do, he looks to, rather than, you know, look for solutions, he looks for someone to blame. And you know, in the most petty and childish ways, because he is the most petty and childish person. Yeah. And so he sort of, and that's why he's sort of chosen that.
I watched the video of him. The reporter goes, "Why are you calling it the China virus? You know, and isn't that racist and yada yada?" And he goes, "Because it came from China. Because it came from China. Because it came from China." He was just such a fucking child. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a danger to...
But but hang on, back to what you said before. You said that he's that dumb. Here's the issue. I don't think he's dumb at all. I think he must be really, really, really smart. I think he's just a really, really smart and a really, really bad person. And very, very spoilt, and he has all the resources that he needs. Because the fact of the matter is that there's millions of millionaires, and not all of them managed to become the president of the United States of America. You know, like, this is a person who played the game, you know, and cut the right throats and greased the right palms, you know, which all takes a lot of cunning. You know, you don't get to the top of a republic like that by being, you know, like, dumb. You know, he's playing the character. His character is this buffoon.
I think if very smart people decide that it's in their best interests to have that person become president.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah, but he still needs to be smart enough to know that he's playing the clown, though. That he's the guy that's being hired to play the clown. But yeah.
It's just so hard to believe when you listen to him.
I know, he does a really good job of seeming incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, yeah, shout out to people that, what are you going to do? Because this is, the thing for me is, like, I'm not really looking forward to teaching my students online, because it's very boring for them.
Yeah.
And no matter what I do, whether I'm live streaming to them or recording tutorials for them, it's not great.
No.
You know, it's just not a very good way to teach, I don't think.
No.
And I'm kind of hoping that they shut things down, and there's, like, at least they do a temporary shutdown where we all just get a fucking holiday. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that would be okay as long as they're paying for the as long as they're paying us for that holiday money. And we just get paid to sit around and just not interact with each other physically.
Yeah, well, I just, you know, like, I just feel like if we're going to do this lockdown, like, let's get on with it, eh?
I feel like I've really missed out on love now. Like, the chances before, you know, I felt like I was really, you know, behind before, you know, but now I kind of feel like I was already not really dating very often. I was already not really doing much of this stuff already, right? So now we've got to add into the equation the social aspect of all of this, in the dating world, but then also the sexual aspect of this. You know, do I really want to go sticking my tongue into the insert favorite orifice here of somebody else? You know what I mean? Like, is that really what I want to do? Do I want to stick my tongue in somebody's mouth, for example? You know, do I want to do that? I don't know if I do. I'm not sure if I do.
Do you want to stick your tongue right up their mouth?
Exactly.
Do you want to do that? Exactly.
Well, that's the thing. So I feel like there's a lot of baggage that's going to be coming with this this whole issue. Things that we haven't even thought of yet. Things we haven't thought of where it's going to have a big trickle down and knock on effect, and there'll be all sorts of random parts of our lives that are affected by something so out of left field as a virus from China.
Well,
China.
Jokingly,
the China virus.
You said that. You know, this is a bad time to be single.
Yeah.
Well, it is a bad time to be single. for sure. But spare a thought for us. In a relationship. My girlfriend, told me not to touch her with my corona-infested dick the other day. So it's not all roses over this way either.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, you've also got double, twice as many people coming and going from the same room. Sleeping in the same room at night and going out to their different parts of the world as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus you'd be sick of the sight of each other.
Yeah. Well, she's already sick of the sight of me.
Yeah.
Sure. She's not very. She was probably very displeased with the fact that I didn't go to work on Thursday. I hung around the house eating chips and watching wrestling.
Yeah. Cool.
She was probably very disappointed about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so look, it's scary times. I guess what does it mean for us as content creators, Harley?
Well, mate, I think that we've missed the boat really, because now everybody is a content creator. So if you want to, there will be a tsunami of shit content on the internet right now. It's why we've got one viewer right now. Nobody gives a fuck, because there's just too much out there now. There's going to be too much. Every single comedian is now at home being a comedian in front of a camera. Every musician is at home being a musician in front of a camera. Everybody, and as it gets worse and as there's going to be less and less, actual jobs out there, if this gets really, really bad, then, there'll just be more and more and more of these essentially techno hobos who will be just on the internet busking, which is basically what we're doing. Busking for
ads.
Yeah, for coins and Google ads, exactly. That is an issue. Now, we do have quite a big advantage in that we have 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. We've got the Sexy 160 listeners and other, our Facebook followings and so on. So we do have an advantage over the average Joe who's just getting started now, but we do need to strike while the iron is hot. We need to get in there and get some stuff going and take advantage of these subscribers. I was actually in the shower today thinking about a film I could shoot in my room where I wake up in the morning and I hear some creepy noises. Well, not creepy, just slightly strange noises from my flatmate, and then I go and have a shower, and then after a while my flatmate bursts in and he's like a rage zombie, because the virus has mutated, and that's what happens to people after it gestates. Like, you think that people are cured, but then what happens is a few weeks after that they turn into rage zombies. So he bursts into my shower, a rage zombie. This is a short film, and I'm trapped in the shower, and I've got a glass shower, so he could be like spitting blood all over it and stuff like that, and I'd be holding it closed from the inside, and he wouldn't be able to get in and get me because I'm inside this glass shower, but I'm naked. So the whole film, I'm naked, and I've got this zombie outside my glass shower, and I don't know how to get out. I don't know how I get out in the end. I don't know exactly what happens. But I like the idea of a short film about me being naked in the shower, shot in this very room with a zombie.
It seems almost as if you have written a short story around the concept of you exposing yourself to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Because that gets you off.
Yeah.
And so this short film
is a way to get myself off.
Which could have been set anywhere and could have happened at any time, has to now happen when you're naked in the shower and you get your dick out a lot.
No, because firstly, we'd probably hide the dick with some expertly placed water on the shower. On the shower. Also,
exposing yourself to cast and crew.
To the cast and crew. Well, I am the cast and crew, apart from the zombie. Who's my flatmate, and then, but also, it can't be anywhere else. If he just bursts in here, that's no good because I can't hide from him. But it's kind of cool, this idea of hiding from him in a glass shower, and he can see me, but he can't get in.
Well, let me know when we're shooting that.
Yeah.
And we'll get on to that.
Well, you can play the zombie.
I'm not editing it, mate.
Yeah.
Don't need to worry.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I sent the previous episode of the show, I sent it to the English Rose, the English woman I've gone on 3 dates with,
You will now not see for the next 6 months.
I will not be seeing her for quite a while. She's actually self-quarantined at home as well, self-isolated at home because she's sick. So she had a cough at work and they sent her home and she stayed home ever since. And so...
Which was 2 weeks ago. She's just not coming back to work.
She's just not coming back to me.
No one's heard from her, strangely.
And no, so she... I sent her the show, which is a questionable strategy, again, because of everything we talked about in the show last week. And so...
Not least of all, your flaccid penis.
Yeah, there was all that stuff about being a dud in the sack and the hairy back and all that stuff. But I sent it to her, again, it's a test, because I don't want to have to fight with my girlfriend about podcast content, Like...
Yeah.
I just want to get up here and do whatever, and I don't want to have any types of filters apart from the ones I impose on myself. And I don't want to be filtering it on account of like somebody else, close to me not approving of the stuff I say. So this is a test to see how she would respond. One issue straight from the start was that she didn't actually listen to the whole episode. She just skipped directly to the bit that mentions her. So there's no context or even like a basic grasp of of the shock jockey humor that we go for, So she's just directly into it. So her first experience of the show is me talking about, quote, her running her hands through my sweaty back hair as I meekly ejaculate and fall asleep, leaving her full of remorse and my mediocre progeny. Right? So I can see how she might not be too impressed. And then she said, she was like, so how hairy like? She was like, how hairy like? How do you do it? How hairy like? I can't do English. Anyway, how hairy like? And the answer is how hairy. If I walked into a random room with 99 random men, I would be in the top 1% of hairy men in that room.
Yeah, I mean, how hairy? How hairy is the fucking Chewbacca?
Yeah.
That's how hairy.
Yeah.
Like how hairy is a gorilla in the zoo?
Yeah.
That's how hairy.
They call him...
Hairy is the hairiest man that you could possibly imagine, and times that by 10. That's how hairy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They...
So, it's a very, speculative, like how hairy. Hairier than you have ever seen.
Or could imagine.
33 years on this earth.
Yeah.
That's how hairy.
They call me the abominable snowman of Kingsland.
Yeah, how hairy. That fake video of Bigfoot and walking through the trees and he looks back at you. That's how hairy. Yeah. So what did you say to that? Like you just said the top 1 percentile.
Yeah. Well. So I said to her, "Oh, well, give me a damage report. Like once it's all settled in." And she was like, "Cool, I'll get back to you like once I'm feeling a little better. There's quite a lot to process here." And gave me a thumbs up, a Facebook thumbs up. Yeah. So.
You haven't heard from her since.
It might be over. Might be over before it began, because of this show. I hope the Sexy 160 appreciate that.
It was bound to happen.
Well, that's the thing. It's the great filter. You've got to filter them out before they filter you, right? This is the trick to a long-term happy relationship, right? Like filter out all the people that are gonna care about your annoying habits and annoying things that you do. Filter them out first. The people that are annoyed about the gross things about you, like your hairy back, filter them out first. Then you don't waste time.
Yeah, no, it's good thinking. When did she give you that thumbs up?
Well, we have had some messages since then. But, the issue is that we can't exactly organise a date, can we? Because, she's got the coronavirus and we're all self-isolating. So, there's not really anything... It's kind of over before it began anyway, in the sense that nothing quite began.
Well, also my question is, this whole self-isolating thing, it's like, make sure you self-isolate for 14 days if you've just come back from travel.
Yeah.
But no one has seemed to say how long you should self-isolate if you think you have the coronavirus.
Well, I just assumed it was the same. If anybody says, well, if you suspect you've got it, you should definitely self-isolate for at least 2 weeks.
Sure.
of course, right? Because that's the how long they think. So treat it the same as if.
Is that the official word? It's 2 weeks.
Well, why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? If you think you've got it, that's the same. If you think you've been exposed to it, that's the same as being suspected of being exposed to it by being overseas. It's the same thing. So if there's the potential that you've been exposed, 2 weeks, 14 days, self-isolate.
Sure. I mean, I guess I just wondered if it was actually longer if you actually had it.
Right.
Is it a precaution 14 days?
Mm.
Not about a confirmation.
Right. Well, the thing is, I think that the disease runs itself through in a certain amount of time, though. So, so 5 days after exposure, you get symptoms, and then I don't know after that, exactly what the specifics are. But so if you did get it, it's that 14 days that's the important one, because that's the 14 days where you're going to be contagious.
Right. Yeah. Well. Lots to think about, lots to process. I mean, we do actually have a web series that's ready to drop in these dark times.
Yeah, well, that's good timing in the sense that, people need content at the moment.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's really good timing.
Hopefully people want to, and when I say people, I mean funding bodies, want to pay for content right now.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, well, what we should do is we should have a live streaming party anyway type thing where we stream all of the episodes in a row, just like a normal premiere at the cinema, but we just do it online, and we just screen all of the episodes start to finish, but we do it live somehow, like, via Twitch type thing, where we can watch it with them, and people can watch us watching it, and we can all watch it together sort of thing, and all comment together and all that type of thing. And promote it for a specific time that everybody will know.
We were scheduled, so part of the agreement, when fundraising is that we were going to do a premiere. So one of the big bonuses of the coronavirus is that we're going to save a lot of money
by doing it online. Yeah,
we can only do it online now.
Yeah.
So while the people will be severely disappointed,
can't blame us.
Can't blame us. It's just the reality of the times that we're in.
Yeah.
So that live stream I'm sure will be happening at some point. But yeah, so the what we're talking about is Imi the Vegan. So we mentioned Imi the Vegan on here several times in the past. I was in editing hell, working on it through my Christmas break. No Christmas break for me, only editing hell.
Yeah.
And I, obviously, my girlfriend was very disappointed in that time that we could have spent together, that I had to dedicate to doing that. But now we're out the other side, and I just received the final mix and the final grade pictures. There's actually one final thing we have to do sound-wise, is we need a news reporter.
Mm-hmm.
Need someone that sounds like a news reporter.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to sound like a journalist.
So male or female?
It can be either, to be honest.
Okay.
They just need to sound newsy, like they actually do it for a living.
Yeah.
Because at the moment we had my temporary audio in there.
Yeah.
And then we put someone else's audio in there who was just one of the sound engineers, and he didn't quite nail it.
Right.
So we sort of need to figure that out. And then...
Do they need to go into the recording studio to do it, or can they do it from home?
No, they can do it from home. No one will be going into any recording studio soon.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because I can essentially record them through the software that I'm recording us now without any difficulty. So there's just table that, something to think about. But we are very close to the vegan.
Well, I do know a bunch of TV presenters. Maybe we could get Mark Cookson, television presenter and Sexy 160 listener. Maybe we get him or one of the other presenters from my work to do it.
If he's got the voice for it, mate, abso-friggin-lutely.
Yeah, I don't know if he has a newsman voice or not. We'll have to find out.
So yeah, we're just looking for someone to do that, and then that will be finished, and we will be thinking about how we're going to release it. Is it going to be just on our YouTube and Facebook and all that sort of thing, or will it be going to a platform that pays us some money for it?
Well,
fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're going to figure that out soon. We're having some meetings, and the idea is to get this electronic press kit put together and then try and send it to all of those people now-ish, or, as soon as possible, really. Send it to them, pitch it to them now. Do you want it? Are you interested? If the answer is yes, great, let's get on with the paperwork associated with that and all the other things that need to be done. And if the answer is no, well then good, at least we know. And then, we just set a date for a YouTube premiere and start hyping it and create a Facebook event for it and all of that type of thing. And then, do it that way.
So it's cool. That will be, I guess, depending on who we hear back from and what, but that will be in the not too distant future. So, hope that everyone is engaged in that. And then obviously the other thing that we're working on is the older situation.
Yeah.
And
we need to really get that out before all the money dries up for buying. If the big distributors are like, oh, actually no, we're not interested in this right now, we're tightening our belts and we're doing other things, maybe they'll be like, we want all content, or maybe they'll be like, we're not spending money on the moment.
People will be looking for that a bit more of that content.
Yeah.
Because essentially, they're going to watch everything on Netflix.
Yeah.
They're going to watch all their popular things, and they're going to be like, well, shit, now what do I do?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you still want to watch stuff, right? So
yeah.
Now you go down to the stars you don't know.
Yeah.
From these small independent films, and that's where we come into play. So I think that in terms of our streaming and online delivery, it actually could be very beneficial. In terms of our cinematic release, well, it will be very detrimental.
Yeah.
No one will be going out to want to see that.
No. Well, that's not...
Corona Q&As will not
yeah.
be a big...
Yeah.
But we're working on that, and I guess probably if I'd say there was, looking at silver linings here,
yeah,
I've got a bit more time to make those deliverables because basically everything is shut down in a limbo.
Yeah.
So it's now a matter of sort of, essentially I can make all those things from my home once I've received some bits and pieces from some other people, and can send that all off, and hopefully, that will sort of maybe be, we're not going to be missing out on any film markets anytime soon, shall we say.
Yeah.
I know that Cannes, I don't know if they've cancelled it yet, but
they moved it, I think.
France have employed a full lockdown now, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
Did you see the Olympics is currently planning to go ahead still? Last I heard.
Really? Well, it's not going to be for too much longer, I'm sure.
No, I don't imagine. But they're currently telling the athletes, keep practicing as if you're going to the Olympics this year. Keep training because you're going to the Olympics this year. That's what they said. So, but surely it won't happen. I mean, maybe. You never know. Maybe we'll have defeated this by then.
Yeah, well...
That's another good thing, is that it is uniting us in some ways, I think. It's uniting different nations as they help each other, but uniting us as people as well, in the sense that we've got a common enemy, which is not people. Yes. It's not people. It's something else to focus on, which is going to unite us, as people. It's why I'm looking forward to the alien invasion, because it's going to really unite us as a species and stop us fighting amongst ourselves.
Well, yeah, I mean... You would certainly hope that it does encourage empathy for your fellow woman or man.
It didn't really encourage it in me. I actually went to the supermarket to stock up the other day, and I was a little more on edge, just keeping an eye out. I said in the previous episode that I wasn't going to be walking around the supermarket wearing gloves like a fucking asshole. Well, I was pretty tempted to wear some fucking gloves, but
you were pretty tempted to renege on every fucking single thing that you said in the previous podcast.
So
every statement you made, you were pretty tempted to go back on to some degree or another. That being one of them.
That's yeah. But so I was walking up to like get my. So I was kind of just. I was getting. Obviously, I was doing quite a big shop because I had a few things to get, But I was getting around quickly, and I went during the day when there was less people around and all that type of thing. Can't handle those 9 to 5 plebs, Can't handle them. And so I go at like 3 o'clock-ish, two before school finished, like 2 o'clock type thing, Anyway, I'm scooching around, I'm getting all my bits and pieces, and then I went up to the peanut butter, and I didn't even care which one it was. I just needed a peanut butter, smooth one. And then out of nowhere, this old man appeared, materialized, and asked me if that brand, was good, if I liked that brand, and if the peanuts were roasted or not, because he likes it when they're roasted, and
You leapt a meter away from him.
No, well, he actually kind of blocked my way a little bit to ask me about all of this, and came all kind of close and was like pointing his old man hand at me, and it was getting dangerously close to my, to my stuff, and I was thinking, don't touch my shit, old man, and then so anyway, I flipped out and I said, don't fucking touch my toilet paper, and then I just grabbed his toilet paper and ran away. But it was a close call.
And pushed him over.
I pushed him over and grabbed his toilet paper and then got the fuck out of there, basically.
You were like, it was like that incident at the cafe.
Yeah.
You were like, hey, listen,
old man. Yeah. Well,
fuck with me, all right? Just let me pick my peanut butter in peace. Shit.
Well, basically, why are you talking to me about it, old man? Like, because here's the thing. People never talk to me at the friggin' supermarket. They never talk to me. Why is this guy suddenly talking to me when the plague is taking upon us? Now's not the time. So anyway, I was in and I was out, and I only got 2 12 packs of toilet paper, which is just my usual. One for wanking, one for wiping.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that you didn't impose, you sort of regulated, moderated yourself there. Didn't make it all about your wanking and stock up for the next 6 months.
Oh, is that what you thought? Maybe you thought that's where I'd take it.
You just increase those rolls of toilet paper. Look, I've got a lot of wanking to do in the next 6 months. I'm in self-isolation.
Yeah.
Stay back, everybody.
Well, to be honest, I hadn't really thought of that until now. Now I'm a little concerned.
Definitely not. All of this is definitely not helping your empathy for your fellow man or woman. Is basically what you're saying. You become more hardened. Your dislike of people in the overall community has increased.
Yeah. Look, I like them, but I like them from afar, okay? People. I like people from afar as a general rule.
Yes, well, I couldn't help but notice that the first time you suggested doing this podcast, randomly, you suggested doing it over Skype.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It wasn't random by then. Not for me. I'd been.
No, what I'm saying is, it wasn't random. You're a fucking asshole. You thought that I had it.
No. Well, I mean,
distance yourself the potential.
Okay, firstly, you had already told me you were home isolating yourself. No, you hadn't yet. But no, the reason why was because I was like, it's on theme for the show. It's on theme. I believe I said. But also, I was already self-isolating. I was already social distancing. So you're right. Yeah, I was social distancing. Why have you here when you don't need to be here? And then you got sick. Well, so I was right. Imagine if you had come around the day before you started getting sick. Now I'd be sitting here wondering if I've got it.
Yeah.
You see? Social distancing, it works.
So anyway, I guess we should probably wrap it up. I mean, unless you've got anything else.
No. I think that's pretty good. I do have a tagline for a new movie, our next movie. This one night stand just turned into a 2-week isolation with a serial killer. Huh?
I like it.
Huh?
I like it.
Or,
Quarantined with a killer.
Yeah, quarantine with a killer. The quarantine killer. Quarantined with a killer. You got it. Keep thinking of those lines. And then the alternative would be a more... This awkward one night stand just turned into a 2-week stand in isolation. And it's like a couple that hooked up the night before the quarantine, and they actually wake up in the morning and realize they hate each other, and they learn to live together for 2 weeks in isolation.
Oh, it's brilliant. I imagine it's being made right now.
Yeah.
But it's a brilliant idea.
Mm.
I think. What do you think? We were hoping to do some filming, a short film, next month.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be happening, to be honest. I feel like it. Well, I mean, I don't feel like, because we were talking about doing a shoot at the beginning of May for a low budget short film with a modest budget, but it is a budget, and it's there, and we were going to shoot this thing. On May 2nd or 3rd we were talking about doing it, but we cancelled our meeting the other day. The script is still being worked on, and even if all that was ready, I don't know. I don't really see us crewing up over the next 4 weeks, to do a shoot in early May. It could happen. We could be ready to rock by then, but the society might be ready to rock by then. But I don't know. Don't see it happening. I was in a short film the other day, actually. I forgot to tell the listeners this. I was in a short film.
Well, talk about that.
Yeah, well, it should turn out pretty cool, I think. It's a short comedy. It's a teaser, proof of concept teaser for a feature film that director Stephen Baker wants to make. And so I was playing a vigilante superhero with no superpowers, watching over Auckland at night. And it was pretty painless shoot, and it was I think everything I saw looked really good, and I'm pretty sure it was quite funny. I didn't get as many takes as I would have liked. I only did like 3 takes, and the rest of the night was just spent getting like coverage of like, me looking out over buildings and stuff like that. So I didn't get too many takes on the actual acting, but fortunately I'm a professional, so it was fine. Hopefully. We'll see when I see it. But yeah, so I did that. But that was kind of the day that the virus news really set in for me, in the sense that I was like, okay, this is actually real big, and it is actually coming here, and I could actually get this virus from interacting with people. And so here I was getting a bloody black eye put on me by a makeup artist who's touching my face and touching all sorts of things and touching my face again all around my eyeball, which none of that sat well with me. And then there was still some handshakes going down here and there as well, which I found myself occasionally partaking in, begrudgingly. And so there's a few handshakes, and I was on set with people, and there was the makeup artist touching my face and all that stuff, and I was kind of thinking, fuck, I just want to get the fuck off the set and get the fuck out of here, because I was concerned with the greater picture. So I couldn't really enjoy it. Couldn't just love it.
That paranoia is really set in for you there.
Well, I always pictured that I would survive the apocalypse. As a child, with my post-apocalyptic fantasies, I often imagined the apocalypse, and I imagined myself surviving. And as I got older, I started feeling a bit down on the fact that I probably wouldn't survive, because I'm getting so much older now. I was like, fuck, I'm just getting older and older and older and older. And I was like, what if this apocalypse kicks in when I'm 50? I'm going to be fucked. I'm going to have kids. I'm going to have, other people to worry about, all that type of thing. Fortunately, it's struck now, and I'm only 36. That's not too bad, and I don't have any dependents. I've got nothing really to worry about in terms of obviously I can worry about my friends and family and so on, but in terms of like things to lose, I'm a bachelor with I'll be fine. Like it's okay. I don't have to worry about too much other people close to me and that type of thing. So I don't know. I feel like I'm going to survive it, personally.
Yeah, well, this one for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just have to see how it plays out, and we'll talk. I mean, we may have a lot less to talk about
if nothing has happened, and we're just regurgitating the same shit that everybody else has seen on the internet.
It's like, what did we do this week? Well, I was self isolation. What did you do? Self isolation, lockdown.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, the thing is, if I reckon that actually this is the most historic podcasting we'll ever do. This is the stuff that the internet archaeologists are going to be looking up later in 1,000 years. They're going to be looking up stuff from this time, and they're going to want to hear what the average Joe was talking about, and then they'll stumble upon the Guy and Harley podcast deep in the archives and they'll get out these episodes of us in isolation and love it.
Well, I think the true terror of this whole thing is if the internet goes down.
Well, and the internet is going to start getting overloaded because there's all these people suddenly streaming from home and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Might be worth bumping up our subscription. Get the faster.
Yeah. Well, my flatmate actually said he was going to do some trickery. He knows how to do some sort of internet trickery. He's going to do some internet trickery to get us faster. So that's good.
Yeah, but because that's when things will really fall apart. Because right now, how do you get your updates? Internet. How do you pass the time? Internet.
Yeah.
How
oh God, can you go imagine going pre-internet, but not being able to interact with people? That'd be fucked.
It'd be boring. Very boring.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like when we were kids, right? You had to go out and interact with people. Basically, that was more or less what you had to do. But you can't even do that anymore.
It makes me think I should order some more PlayStation games online.
I was actually thinking about getting Doom Eternal.
Right.
That's what I was thinking about getting. But I'm also like, well, shit, I'm about to bloody be unemployed. I can't be buying $100 video games. But then on the other hand, if I get it, I could stream it. I could live stream it and make some money from live streaming. I'd get back at least $2 of that $100.
Yeah. Can I have Red Dead Redemption 2? Are you done with that?
Well, actually, I'm only 50% of the way through it. I'm literally 50% of the way through it. Did you get a PlayStation?
I did.
Oh, well, you'll have to set up some live streaming. We should play games online together. Guy and Harley podcast, but live streaming a video game on Twitch.
Well, if we can figure out how to do that,
yeah,
I'm all for it. Although I did notice, and I think this is the reflection of the apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
So, just today, I was like, what camera am I going to use? At the moment, I'm using the camera on my Mac, which I do not like using because my Mac is normally closed and it's not my main screen, and it's not an amazing camera either.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to get that HDMI capture capture link card, basically. And so obviously I look online, lo and behold, it's fucking sold out everywhere.
Right.
Every cunt's thinking about this.
Yeah.
So, it's actually now not available. And I'm like, well, shit.
Yeah.
There's the chance that we're going to be doing this for the next extended period of time.
Yeah. But that's all right, though. You'll just have to get yourself one of these C922 Pros, the Logitech one, C922 Pro, and just use that instead of your fancy camera. Then you don't need a capture card. But you've got a nicer camera, and you can just you connect it to your main Mac. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to figure out how to connect it to the PlayStation. That's going to be...
No, for the PlayStation, you've got to buy the PlayStation camera and just plug it straight into your PlayStation.
I've got the PlayStation camera.
Well, there you go. So that's all you need. You plug it in and then you just stream from there. It just doesn't look that great, but that's what you do. It doesn't look that great. If you get the capture card, you can run it through your computer and make it look a lot nicer. But without the capture card, you just use the camera and the PlayStation, and away you go.
Cool.
Yeah. So we could live stream us playing games somehow.
Well, we'll have to figure that out. Resident Evil.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, man. Well, I think we
wrap it up.
Go and do some work or something.
Yeah. Well, I've got to work as well. I've got work as well. I've got to try and get as much work as possible because it's about to dry the hell up. I know it is. I think I'm working out my rostered shows that I've got going. I'm working out those rostered shifts, and then after that, who knows? Yeah.
Well, I guess we should say shout out to the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, be safe.
Yep.
Take care of yourself.
Yep.
Don't be silly.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Don't stick your tongue in people's orifices if you don't need to.
Yeah. So my girlfriend's laughing. She's very happy that I won't be accosting her in the distant future.
Yeah.
she's jubilant about that fact.
Yeah.
I am less so, but there we go.
Yeah.
Yep, be careful out there. Try and be sensible, and obviously we are legitimately all in this together.
We are.
I mean, it's going to affect all of us to large or small increments, but mainly the large scale.
Yeah.
And feel free to shout out on Facebook. I should also just mention, Harley, have you been noticing the Pigville Productions messages? Do you ever respond to those?
I do. Yeah, there was a dude that messaged the other day who I didn't get back to, who was hoping to flat with us.
Because we get a lot of I just see the auto reply to that.
Oh right, yeah.
Do you not see that?
No, I don't really check them that much. Well, do you? You're an admin as well.
Yeah, well, I leave the admin to you. Apparently, that's not been a wise choice.
Yeah, well, why? Has anybody sent us anything interesting?
Well, I think people are just trying to interact with us, and they just get this automatic reply which goes, "Hi,"
yeah,
whatever their name is. Thanks for messaging. We'll get in touch with you shortly.
Yeah.
What everyone gets sent.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you set that up.
Yeah.
But maybe you should just keep an eye on the true fans.
Yeah.
Trying to get through.
Well, they should know to message the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley, because there I check those messages regularly. The Pigville page is really not very active. We don't post there. There's nothing really goes there. It kind of just sits there mostly. So yeah, facebook.com/Guy and Harley if you want to give us some feedback, if you want to give us some topics, if you would like to just be involved with the show, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. You can also go to patreon.com/Pigville and you can give us $1 a month, which would actually really help us at the moment. So this is a good time to be growing your online income out there. So yeah, patreon.com/Pigville, or if you'd like to buy us the beers for the next episode, you can go to paypal.com, and all you need is our email address, which is pigvilleproductions@gmail.com, and you can buy us the beers and we'll give you a shout out next episode. Other than that, yeah.
Well, we haven't really taken many topics recently, but we're going to need some topics.
We are.
So if you've got topics, you've got things you want us to discuss here, we will gladly do that. Just throw it up. We'll probably have a lot more movie reviews.
I guess so.
Well.
Yeah.
But yep, so just think about that.
Yep.
Stay safe. Take care. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.